And again, so I'm Azania Heron here with the Beyond Open program team. I'm on the team to help with awareness and communications, but also support for the grant program as a whole. I'm an independent contractor. I have a public relations firm where I do PR and community outreach. Ish is on staff at Foundation for the Carolinas, which is the organization that is leading this program. You guys may or may not know, it came through by way of funding from a $20 million grant from Wells Fargo. They allocated those dollars to the Foundation for the Carolinas to disperse amongst diverse small business owners here in Charlotte-Mecklenburg. And so a little bit more about the program. I'm gonna run through these slides here. As I mentioned, it's designed specifically, it's led by Foundation for the Carolinas with support from the Wells Fargo Open for Business Fund specifically. And that was a fund that came around during the start of the pandemic around 2019, that was designated dollars to support. The primary focus at the time was racial and ethnic diverse small businesses. And as that program has evolved, for these program purposes, diverse is inclusive of minorities, women, veterans, and those who identify as LGBTQ, small business owners. And the vision is to help you to build wealth. You know, there are some programs that have been designated, particularly during the pandemic, to keep your doors open, just to keep you going through really trying times. And now we're taking this a step further to say, what asset do you need that's going to help you to grow and scale your business? Not only just to keep the doors open, but to do much more than that. And that is the vision behind Beyond Open, which is why it's called Beyond Open, right? We had a lot of fun with that language. The goals of this program are three: to build wealth amongst diverse small business owners through access to capital and investments that otherwise you may have needed to go into debt to acquire. So these can be in the likes of storefronts, equipment, technology, any tangible asset or thing that you can own. It could be software if you happen to be a digital company, or a home-based. It could be materials that you use to complete your job, tools, anything that is an asset that's going to help you to grow and scale your business. Secondly, it's looking to change the narrative around business ownership and access to capital. We know diverse small business owners have harder challenges securing funds. Sometimes the loan process is cumbersome. There's a lot of red tape. There are preconceived notions around what's possible that a diverse small business owner can do and how much they can scale or how much they can handle or what they can accomplish. We want to change the narrative around that by providing this pathway. And then lastly, to create a direct benefit and model the outcomes through how this program is operated, essentially. So how we hire, how we're contracting throughout the term of this program. One of the things I should share is we are in year one of Beyond Open. It's going to run through 2024. And so what I mean by modeling these outcomes, as I mentioned, I'm a contractor here on the team. We look to work with diverse small business owners to design our collateral, to print our materials. When we host our in-person meetings, the spaces that we hold them in, the food that we purchase, the supplies, swag, marketing materials, all of those things, we've been intentional around working with diverse small business owners to support their business, right? We want to demonstrate that they are all viable players, and this program is investing through you, diverse small business owners, and we're doing that even to activate the program. A little bit around eligibility. Am I eligible? Is this grant for me? There are 4 criteria here. Diverse, as I mentioned, is defined as minority, women, veteran, LGBTQ, small business owner. You must be located within Charlotte-Mecklenburg. We have a large reach here in Charlotte-Mecklenburg. Some individuals are located in counties outside of Mecklenburg County. Unfortunately, this program would not work for you. You must be located, the business must be located in Charlotte-Mecklenburg or registered if you happen to not have a physical brick and mortar. Third, priority will be given to businesses within or adjacent to corridors of opportunity. Some people may be familiar, some people may not be. This is a term identified by the city of Charlotte for 6 corridors across our city that have historically not had as much capital or rather economic investment. And the city right now has a laser focus on committing their efforts and attention to economic investments in these corridors to help to spur wealth, prosperity, improve quality of life within these sections of the city. And so we thought, let's double down on those efforts through this program, or not double down, but support rather those efforts through this program by giving priority to a business if you happen to be located within, close to, or if you have significant business activity in one of these 6 corridors of opportunity. And in the next slide, we'll show where those are. Again, priority. You can be anywhere in Charlotte-Mecklenburg County, but if you are there, there's additional priority given to your application. The fourth criteria is small is defined by employees anywhere between 1 to 499. So less than 500 individuals would make you a small business. Again, as I mentioned, the 6 corridors of opportunity, you see them laid out here. If you're really interested, some folks have been like, am I on that corner? Am I on the left side? I'm right. I think I'm over there. There's an interactive map that you can find on the City of Charlotte's website if you were to search under corridors of opportunity. This is a stagnant image here. Those areas include Albemarle Road, Central Avenue, Beatty's Ford, Roslyn's Ferry, Freedom Drive, Wilkinson Boulevard, Graham, North Tryon Street, Sugar Creek Road, I-85 corridor, and then lastly, West Boulevard. One of the things that I personally love about this program, and I hope you guys appreciate as well, is we wanted to be able to meet the needs across the board. And so there are some smaller businesses with maybe a smaller need that I can actually make a big difference on your ability to, grow personally, on your ability to improve your income and improve your business's service offering. And then there may be a business that is more along in years, more mature, has a team, or is just having a larger reach that has an asset need that's going to be a larger dollar amount. This program is designed so that everyone can play, right? Everyone's like, there's something for you. And so there are 3 grant categories from 5,000 to 20,000. Then there's that middle range of 20,000 to 20,000 plus to 100,000, and then 100,000 plus to 250,000 plus, you'll see. And that plus is there in the event that, there might be this unique need that happens to be a bit more than 250,000. Our program is interested in learning about that. And if you can demonstrate how this asset is going to help you to grow and scale, you're eligible to submit that request. We didn't want to limit you at just the 250,000 either. But again, across this large range, and what you see here are a list of examples. Do not feel limited to them. We know that there are very diverse businesses out here, diverse in not only, the owner, but what you're doing and the service that you're offering, and your needs are going to vary. And so these are examples here just to help us to materialize and think about what a capital asset would be and what would be eligible. They include the likes of computers, small office equipment, cell phones, communications equipment, to furnishing, small furnishing, an entire storefront if you happen to have a shop or a lobby and you're looking to upfit that space. It could be large inventory purchases. It could be smaller materials or supplies. If your service relies on a vehicle, you're in food service or construction, anything along those lines that requires a car, a new vehicle is eligible. If it's a larger scale, you happen to have a fleet. That's where we have the Make Bold Moves category, where you'll see a fleet of vehicles. Several vehicles can be requested there. And so again, these are examples. You see minor stores, space renovations, to those who have a virtual business, building out an e-commerce site, purchasing software, things that you can acquire and own. As it relates to technology, something to think about: if it's subscription-based, that wouldn't work because you wouldn't be the owner of that. That's just a subscription fee. That's more of an operational cost. But if it's a technology that you can acquire, yes, that would be eligible. So again, these are examples. Don't feel limited to that. And usually folks have a lot of questions here, so we certainly can get into that at the end of the presentation. What is not eligible? As I mentioned, operating expenses. That includes the likes of payroll, utilities, advertising, marketing, consultant, and debt repayment. I've heard the question in a couple of our meetings where someone will say, well, I just made a deposit on this property, or we just acquired XYZ. Like, could I apply for this grant now to kind of like backfill that money? Unfortunately, no, it cannot be for something that you've already acquired. That would be considered debt repayment, but it is for something that you need looking ahead. And as a small business owner, I know there is always a need. So I would encourage you to just think creatively around what other requests may be out there or what other asset will really help you to grow and scale your business. I didn't share this, but in addition to when I said, we didn't want to leave anyone out and make this program work for the sole proprietor that might be home-based, to someone who has a brick and mortar, to someone who has a team. That's where you see the range of funding. But additionally, we didn't want it to be that paperwork was an obstacle or a holdup. And so the Build for Success grant, if you're looking for anywhere between $5,000 to $20,000, the only documentation that's required are 2 reference letters. And you see that reflected here in this chart. The items in green are required. The items in orange are encouraged if you happen to have it. So if you're going for that Build for Success grant, that might be, you don't really have a lot of financials put together. You don't have a profit loss statement. You're not registered with the state of North Carolina. If that's the funding you're looking for, and you do happen to have some of the documentation that you see here in this list, please do submit it. It will only strengthen your application, but it is not required. And then as you're requesting more funding, there's a bit more accountability here, right? And so you'll see an increase for the documentation that is required. Growing for Prosperity. And then for the largest, Making Bold Moves, that's where just most everything in this list is required with the exception of those 2 reference letters. For a little bit of clarity on the reference letters, the application details it some, but we've had questions around that as well. We're just looking for customers, suppliers, anyone that's aware that you are the owner of your business, that you're doing what it is that you say you do. So someone who can, just basically confirm that you are in business, that you're a viable player, and you should be a great candidate. You are a great candidate for this grant. That's what we're looking for in the reference letters. And there's no official format that can be how it needs to be. One thing I'll note about all of the documentation is that it does need to be in a PDF format and then uploaded into the application. The other part about this program is not only did we look to mitigate some of the, the challenges for paperwork, but if you do have that larger need and you happen to not have, if you're going for Growing for Prosperity and you are not registered with the North Carolina Secretary of State, for example, we have community partners that are literally they are a part of this program and they have dedicated time to support applicants for this grant funding opportunity. They include Aspire Community Capital, Prospera, and the Women's Business Center of Charlotte. And the Women's Business Center of Charlotte, they do not only serve women. If you are a male and you're interested in working with them, they're open to working with you as well. Prospera obviously has, or maybe not obviously, but they're advancing Hispanic businesses. So they have Spanish speaking support staff if that's something that you need. What I'll say about these partners are they have been in existence already. They are plugged into working with diverse small business owners, and they can help you to prepare you not only for this grant funding opportunity, but to grow and scale your business as a whole. And so we thought it was a great opportunity to not only get support through this process, technical support, but for you to be able to be connected with a community partner that can support you beyond even this grant program. The other thing I'll note is today, here we are, it's October 17th. I'm going to get into the timeline. You might be aware that the application closes October 28th. Here we go on this next slide, October 28th at 5 p.m. So we have about 2 weeks here, right? If you have a really, really big ask, like there is something that if only, and this is your opportunity to go for it, and you don't happen to have all of the paperwork that's required, I encourage you to at least begin the process with one of our community partner organizations. You may not be able to pull it all together within this 2-week window, but again, this program runs through 2024. We're in round 1. There's also going to be round 2 and round 3. And you'll hear about round 2 as early as Q1 of next year. And so this could be a great opportunity for you to begin ramping up the documentation that you will need for that bigger ask. Or if you have something that you need right now that falls within that $5,000 to $20,000 and you happen to be ready for that portion of the application, I encourage you to apply for that, because guess what? You can apply in round 1, round 2, and or round 3. So you're not limited to one pocket of funding. If you have a strong application in each round, you can receive an award for each round. And so, you know, be strategic, think about what's important right now and what you're best positioned to apply for. So don't look at this as your one shot and force an application that you don't feel confident about, if that makes sense. So again, the application's open on September 28th. You are invited to go in, start an application without submitting it. I encourage you to do so that you can walk through it, be familiar with the information that's being requested, take the time you need to gather the documentation, to write your narratives, to describe your story so that it's very clear what you're asking for, how that capital asset is going to help you to build your wealth and grow and scale your business, and then go in and submit a strong application. So it allows you to save along the way. Again, it's a live application. You can start it and save along the way before submitting it by October 28th, not at midnight. It's not like a, you know, college deadline. It's a 5 p.m. deadline. So October 28th at 5 p.m. Applicants will be notified in mid to late November. The funding will be dispersed this year. So grantees will receive funding by or before December 30th of this year. And then again, as mentioned, you will hear about round 2 funding in Q1 of next year. To bring this program to life, one of the things I really respected with Foundation for the Carolinas is they took the time to not only say, okay, we have $20 million, let's just put it out as quickly as possible, you know, and see what sticks. We were really thoughtful. The organization was really thoughtful and worked with an advisory council. These are made up of partners, like I mentioned, Prospera, Women's Business Center, Aspire Community Capital, but also others that are plugged in with the city of Charlotte, for example. We have individuals from the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Black Chamber of Commerce. We have small business owners themselves who can say, you know, hey, I know you guys are thinking about running the program this way, or I know you were thinking about giving out XYZ dollars. I can tell you as a small business owner, we need something that looks a little bit different. And all of their voices were integral to the program that we see today. One of those examples even being the range of funding that I mentioned. You guys might know there's kind of a season of a lot of grant funding that has become available. At one point, we had a number of micro grants in Charlotte, Mecklenburg last year, micro meaning smaller grant amounts of $10,000, for example. And our advisory council overwhelmingly felt like, you know, if we're going to demonstrate investment in our diverse small business owners, we got to do more. That $10,000 is not always the answer for someone who's really trying to take things to another level. And so let's get behind providing more funding for them to really grow and scale their business. And so that's this advisory council here, which has been throughout the entire grant program. We're still touching in with them, and they'll continue to work with the Beyond Open team throughout round 2 and 3. To make this, you know, we wanted to get this program out to as many folks as possible. And this is something that I've been, you know, given the opportunity to support directly. So we have tonight, for example, this virtual meeting here. We've had a number of in-person meetings at all of the corridors of opportunity. There are pop-up meetings that are continuing to happen with the help of Taya and team from Executive Business Services. And we have door-to-door knocking that's going out in the corridors. We have the webinar playbacks that are available on the website. They're on YouTube. We've pursued earned media. We're working on a piece right now with Charlotte Magazine, which would be really exciting, again, because this program has some legs. So we want to see shelf life. We want people talking about it over time, not just until October 28th. There are earned media. I don't know if you guys have heard anything, but we're on the radio. We're on social media platforms, we're in print publications, we're in e-newsletters. I hope you're like maybe tired of seeing this program. That's our objective. No, not to make you tired of it, but our objective is to reach everyone that could be eligible so that someone does not apply, not because they didn't hear about it, but because for some reason it's not right for them in this moment in time. So we encourage you to spread the word, to share this opportunity with other diverse small business owners that you know who may be eligible so that everyone has an opportunity to participate. Another thing that we've done to be really thoughtful around not creating barriers, our website, you may have noticed, it's in English when you land there, but we've also made it available in 2 other primary languages next to English for our corridors and throughout Charlotte-Mecklenburg, and those are inclusive of Spanish and Vietnamese. And so if anyone is looking for it in Spanish language or Vietnamese language, you can change the translation for the website. Our print materials also do the same. you'll see in the images of the diverse small business owners that are here. We wanted them to, reflect you as best as possible. I look forward to putting you guys in our new images in round 2 and round 3. Those of you who receive funding and are excited to help to tell your story, we want your faces there, just for people to know that this could be you, that this is not beyond reach, this is not outside of your scope, that this program is designed for you. Our in-person events, they're done now, but the pop-up ones are still happening. As I mentioned, here's a list of the online sessions that we've had. There's also a frequently asked question on the website. Thankfully, you guys are here with us tonight. Hopefully, we'll be able to get through any of the questions that you have in this moment. But many of the questions that have been asked multiple times, or that may not be clear, or just some questions that may come up that are not addressed in the actual application, they are available on the website. So when you go to beyondopenclt.com, look up frequently asked questions, you'll see a list of items there, including one that we have often around nonprofits. I didn't mention nonprofits, but they are also eligible for this program, but the criteria is a bit different, because remember, this is to help you to grow well, and nonprofits typically are not designed for the executive director to grow wealth directly. But if you happen to have a nonprofit where you are serving the community or serving your constituents in a way that is helping them to grow their wealth, there are some stories that can be told and ways to demonstrate that. But there's a bit different eligibility, and that would be that the executive director must be BIPOC, which is Black, Indigenous, or a person of color. And so diversity is not as broad for the nonprofit as it is for a diverse small business owner. In addition to the executive director identifying as BIPOC, the board of directors need to be primarily BIPOC. So meaning 51% or more of your board identifies as Black, Indigenous, or person of color. And that information is available on our website if you're interested in learning more there. Again, our flyers, they're in English, Spanish, Vietnamese. These are some of our print materials that, as I mentioned, we work with diverse small business owners to design, to print, to make available. We are on social media. We're currently on Instagram and Facebook, and we will eventually be on LinkedIn as well as we continue to share about the program. So I hope I didn't speak too quickly, but I, definitely want to leave room for you guys. Want to give you the program overview and then can dive into your questions. And I saw that the chat have been a little bit busy. So let's see.
Yeah,
here.
Zania, I've been answering a few of them, and we can come back to some as well
Okay.
that I already have answered if there's time, and if I feel I need clarification on some of them. But I think there's one that I haven't answered just yet, and I was in the process of answering, but I'll go ahead and ask it. Sarai Uribe asks, if they decline you for Grow for Prosperity, do you need to reapply for Build for Success?
Yes, so that's a great question, and that comes up often. Just directly say that the next time around. So the program is designed in a way where you will be reviewed based on the grant that you request.
So I think you're echoing again. Sorry to interrupt you, but I think you're harmonizing again.
Like I'm in both. Is this better?
There you go.
Okay. So y'all, I bought a new laptop to improve my microphone ability, and it gives me problems. So technology, we need materials to do our job. So this program, sorry to repeat myself, this program is designed in a way where you're going to be reviewed by the grant category that you apply for. So yes, I can do that. And let me bring up those grant types as I speak to it. So for example, if you apply for Grow for Prosperity, it wouldn't so happen that we're like, we don't really think that this person, if you're requesting 50,000, the review team wouldn't say, that ask is maybe too much for 50,000, but we think that they could make do with $19,000. And so we'll move them to the Build for Success. That will not happen. You will be reviewed again based on the grant category that you apply for. So if you're uncertain or you don't feel strong about your application, an example of like providing some proof of, because any capital asset more than $20,000, we are requesting that you provide like a quote or a proposal if it happens to be like a service, just something that you're getting from a supplier, for example, and not like a shop or a store, a quote or some proof of the cost estimate for that item. So if you, for some reason, you don't have documentation for the item, or you happen to not have the documentation that's requested for you to provide, I would encourage you to just go for the Build for Success grant. One of the things ways you can look at that is offsetting the cost. Say you're looking for something that's $30,000, but you don't have the documentation. If that $20,000 would help you to not go into debt and to be able to make that larger purchase, that might be a way to go. I hope that answers that question.
Our next question directed to the group is from Giorni Jeffries. I'm applying for Build for Success grant. I am a startup. My business caters to LGBTQ community. I was wanting to use the funds to purchase a mobile business car they will be using for business purposes from transporting and renting a space at a share kitchen. Will that be eligible for Build for Success? Both fits under what I'm needing for $20,000.
And I'm sorry, so that was, I'm trying to look here, see if I can read it. I was trying to follow you, Ish. There was quite a bit. So the ask, can you tell me what the item is?
Based on the question, a mobile business car.
A mobile business car. Yeah, so what I think I'm understanding is that you're wondering, like, the items that you see are just examples. They don't have to fall in one category or the other. So just as an example, if there's a computer that happens to be $25,000. That's probably not a good example, but it was the first thing on this list. You can request a computer under Growth for Prosperity, right? So again, these are examples, but they are not limited to each of the grant categories. They're just examples of assets that you may need. So any asset like this mobile, I think it's a mobile kitchen, would be eligible, and you can go for whatever dollar amount that will be needed for you to purchase that item. Does that answer it, Ish? A mobile business card that we use. Okay.
And to follow up is just to reiterate, I know that a lot of the questions we've been getting, for whoever, if you've looked at our materials, and if you're looking at this presentation that has that list of examples, now I just want to stress that those are examples, and that, there might be a car that's, it's listed in the Build for Success, but it may be less than $20,000. And if that's the asset you need and it falls under Build for Success, base it off the amount that you're requesting, not necessarily what's listed in the examples there.
Correct.
Zen, you seen the next one from Richard?
I did. Okay, I didn't know if I was going
Awesome.
in order. So
Yeah,
is that specific to, that was a nonprofit question, is that right? Okay, so yes, the question is, did I share that a nonprofit requires the executive director to be BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, person of color? That is correct. That is the eligibility requirement for a nonprofit, and not only the executive director, but also the majority of the board must identify as such.
Thanks.
You got it. Oh, that was you. I feel like we're buddies. You were the first one on the call. So can the application include more than one service we offer for economic growth for our clients? Frank, sharing a little bit about, would you mind sharing more around that question?
We have a trade school. That's one service we have. And we have a lot next door to the building. And what we want to do is, we've looked into some prefab buildings that we can use, one for housing, because we are running into a number of students that are homeless, and one for, we need one for, to have a building where they can do hands-on training, because right now we have to take them outside. Hands-on training and also, we also have in our building mental health and substance abuse services, because we are a state licensed mental health facility. So we help clients that are re-entering the community, especially those type of clients. They have to have mental health and substance abuse counseling with us. We have a variety of services, and I know top on our list is to get those prefab buildings. And we've already put down payment on one building. And we were told by our architectural team that we could put 2 buildings there and turn one of those buildings into a living facility.
Okay.
So and each building is about, with the architectural fees that's included, because even though the people will come and erect the buildings, we have to put the concrete slab down, and we have to have our own architectural plans. They give us the structural plans. So I was looking at each one of those buildings is probably going to be $20,000 to $30,000. They're
Okay.
about 1,500 square foot each building. And we're going to need some tools. We're going to need bedding in one and tools and stuff in the other. So that's why I was saying, can we include in the grant more than one service?
When you say herb service, do you mean like the item, the actual asset? So like tools plus XYZ to help to fulfill the actual new space,
Right.
is that correct?
Yeah, because we're going to have one space is going to be for housing. So we're
Mhm.
going to need everything in there to accommodate maybe
Mhm.
people living in our housing while they're in school. So that's
Yeah.
one service. The other building is going to be where the students can do their hands-on learning.
Okay, so I think the answer to what you're asking is, so you'll see in the application that it describes you it asks you to describe the asset, which sounds singular. But in a case like this, if you're looking to fill out, for say, let's focus on the housing portion. If you're looking to upfit, complete, build out that housing space, that might include beds, that might include a couch, that might include lighting, a carpet, etc. That's really one sort of asset. That housing portion is one asset you're looking for. And so you are able to request multiple items to fulfill that one need. And you'll see language in the application that describes that says to describe that as your project. So
Okay.
describe the project that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do any requests that way, it would need to be, as I'm describing, for one purpose, right? So housing, that would be one grant request.
Mm-hmm.
And when you talk about the schooling portion, that would be a separate grant application. Those two would not be eligible for one grant request. So again, you're able to request funding for one asset or multiple assets that are really like one ultimate project, because that housing is an asset, if you will. As I mentioned, an example, if you had a brick and mortar that had a storefront, there might be a couple of materials there. You can apply for that, but you would not have a clear, direct application if you're requesting items for the housing plus items for the schooling portion. Does that answer your question?
So we would have to do 2 separate applications?
Yes, and you can only do one application per
Oh.
grant cycle. So I would
Okay.
choose the one that's most important right now,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're welcome to apply for a second need in round 2 or round 3.
Okay.
Mhm.
And is my microphone still good? Because it likes to switch up on me.
It's
Am I
it's
okay?
still good. I'm seeing
Okay.
Ursula has her hand raised as well.
Yeah, I
Okay.
have a, so this is not my business. I'm doing the grants for them.
Okay.
So my understanding, he does a computer technology, right?
Okay.
And he teaches basic to advanced stuff. So from my understanding is he's working with on Freedom Drive in that
Mhm.
building, right there off of Freedom Drive. So he needs to, like, more computers. Like, I'm thinking Build Success will be the first one he needs to do, to get more computers, to get all the computers, to have all the programs set on them. So when the students come in, they don't have to worry about purchasing the programs. And then maybe the next cycle, he does eventually wants his own building. So
that's right. That's a good way of thinking about it. So those are 2 different needs. All will be important to grow in the business. The one need would be the computers and the programs. And then another need is going to be that leasing space or the building. And so, yes, that would be a separate grant application.
Okay, so that's what when I talk to him, that's
Yeah.
what I'm going to explain to him. I want to apply for the Build Success because I know that is the one he has the most information on.
Yeah.
And he's in the process of trying to get his own building. But I
Mhm.
just don't think, and you said that cycle 2 will start around January, February.
You will hear about it in quarter
Okay.
1. Yeah, so quarter 1. And that gives us a couple months, January, February.
January,
gotta
February,
work with
March
our parents.
will be, okay, so January, February, March is when
You'll hear
the
what the
opening,
timeline will be.
not the closing.
No, so we don't even have the opening date yet, but in
Okay.
that time frame, you will hear about when cycle 2 will be open, when will be available. So it may be April, just as an example.
Yeah.
But in quarter 1, we will share some notifications so that you could begin planning and preparing for round 2.
Okay, so round 2, so you will, in quarter 1, you will give us the dates
That's
for
right.
the opening
That's right.
for 2.
That's right. That's
Okay,
right.
got that.
And one of the things, this is a new program, right? And so this round 1 is our first attempt or first execution of the program, right? Not an attempt, we're doing it. First execution of the program. And so once we receive applications, we're reviewing them. That will give us a lot more intel for like how much time we're going to need, how much lead we'll need, any additional capacity. And so that's a part of why that date isn't available just yet. But yeah, you will hear the date for the second round of applications in quarter 1.
Okay, so my mindset of how I want to apply for grants for him is in the right mindset. Let's just get more of the technology. You have a space that you
Yes.
can work with. And then you can be actually looking for a space to rent or to own or a lease or however that.
That's right. That's right.
Okay,
That's right.
And my second question is, I'm working towards a nonprofit. I'm building a nonprofit now, right? I'm working in the community under the name. I'm going through the application to get my 501c. So when the second round of grants come around, even though it's just beginning, will I still be able to apply for maybe the Build Success, or do I have to have it established for a year before I can do anything?
That's a great question. So there is room for startups, right? For profit or nonprofit. What the review team will want to see in that case is that there is a plan, that you have a business plan, a nonprofit plan, that there has been some support, just any documentation or any proof points that demonstrate that this has been underway for a bit, and that this is truly materializing. Again, just to be sure that this is something that's happening and someone's not just kind of like, yeah, maybe let's see, and isn't able to utilize the funding for the grant request. So yeah, a startup is eligible, but that plan would need to be provided with the application.
Okay, because personally, I'm not ready. So I said by the second round, I will have all the legal documents. Me just working in the community and having my name out there I still need all the legal documents. So I don't want to just rush to get the money when I still can't prove. You still need to have proof that you are a legal entity.
Right.
So I'm okay with waiting, even if I have to wait to round 3, because you are going to do a round 3, right?
That's right. This goes until 2024.
Okay, so even if I have to wait to round 3, I think I'm mentally okay with that.
Yeah.
Because I want to work at my own pace. And then, okay.
That sounds great.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Zania, I'm going to pair these next 2 questions in the chat kind of together. They're not exactly the same thing, but they are somewhat related. So I think it'll be good to kind of talk about it. The first one comes from Crystal Smith. Talk about it all together. The first question comes from Crystal Smith. If a business is headquartered in one state and wants to start in a second location in Charlotte, is the business eligible to apply? And then the next question, we can answer that and I can follow up with the next one, which is somewhat related.
Okay. Great. So, Crystal, it's kind of similar to what I was sharing with Ursula there. The program is designed for businesses that are existing in Charlotte-Mecklenburg. If for some reason you are in the process of starting this business already, like, there's people have been hired or space has been reserved or registration is underway, like if there are some examples that you can prove that demonstrates that the business is like in momentum to be in Charlotte-Mecklenburg and underway, then you would be eligible. But we would not, you wouldn't have a strong application if you're just like, hey, I'm projecting that I'd like to be in Charlotte-Mecklenburg, because what that's going to look like to the review team is you're not currently in Charlotte-Mecklenburg. And so funding is going to be prioritized to those that are existing here.
And the next question comes from Renee Goodwin, and it asks, my business is registered at my home in Gaston County, but my business is operating on Beatties Ford Road and Shopton Road in a rented space. Can I still apply?
So that's interesting. It's because we were just getting some clarity on this. If you're renting space on Beatties Ford and Shopton, that to me is operating your business in one of the corridors of opportunity in Charlotte-Mecklenburg. And so Ish, please back me on this one. That to me sounds eligible.
Yeah.
Ish, would you say? Yeah, I mean, so there are some cases, for example, of businesses that are registered in Gaston or other counties, and you're like, hey, I'm kind of doing something in Charlotte-Mecklenburg, but if you literally have rented space there, I would just encourage you, to turn in and upload maybe an example of one of your leasing documents or whatever it is to demonstrate that that rental is happening there.
Yeah, so we've been established for like over 5 years. And so we rent out the spaces inside of a charter school that we provide our services, and then inside of a church facility where we provide our services. So it's just, as at the time of starting the business, I didn't know exactly what to do. So I just have all the mail and everything sent to my home.
Understood.
But yes. Okay.
Understood.
I can
Yeah,
just
but if you're
provide
renting
the rental documents.
yes.
Thank you.
You got it. Okay, and I see the next one is sorry. Do we want to go with the hand or the question first, Ish? I don't know what order. Eric, your hand is up and you're off the mic. Go ahead, and then I'll jump back to
Go ahead and we'll go back. Yep.
Okay, thank you so much. Hi, my name is Eric. I'm the executive director of a nonprofit. I am also an Asian American. And I'm curious and interested in the Make Bold Moves. We've been an established nonprofit for quite some time here, and we've been in a location since 2006. And we really just need more space to expand our programs, to do youth education, but also, cycling education and whatnot. Our board is still forming. We have open positions that we're still reaching out for folks to join our board in this kind of transition, but we're interested in moving into a new space. Would it be something where, I would have to get a full board prior to applying for a grant cycle so that I could reach that 51%?
Right.
Or is it something kind of like, setting up a plan similar to the other ones, or even just soliciting board members to connect with us?
Yeah, so that I've not heard this question yet, Eric. We've been doing this outreach for quite some time now. That's a really great question. And I don't want to misinform you. So I don't have the complete answer, but from what you just shared, I imagine that our review team would, if like you're saying, if it's demonstrating pulling that together, if there's a list of prospects, those things may help your application. But I also want to be sure that you're really ready for it. And Ish, do you have any, have we discussed like who the best partner is for nonprofit support from the community partner organizations?
That's a good question. We haven't, but I would probably say, I would guess Aspire, but we haven't identified specifically which CPO would be the best one to contact.
Eric, if you didn't mind, just because we don't have the answer, I don't want to leave you here like unresolved. Could you send us an email at info@beyondopenclt.com?
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that we can follow up with you and just say, hey, I was at the meeting. Just something in the subject line to be sure that we capture the attention that this is a follow-up question from this meeting here, so that we can get you exactly what you need.
Okay, I'll line it nonprofit follow-up question.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I saw the next question in chat is,
Was from Ronald Dolphus. Is corridor requirement based on zip code of business or area served?
the corridor requirement reflects the map that we saw there. Let me go back to it here. And
that-
if you would like to,
Oh, no, go ahead. And then
okay.
Yep.
No problem. So, and if you'd like to make, this is pretty high level. If you go onto the City of Charlotte's website and look up corridors of opportunity, you can literally zoom in and see the street address. And so I say that to say, I'm not sure that all of them fall in the same zip code, for example, but it would be this literal area that's identified by the City of Charlotte. But again, it's also within, close to, or with significant business activity. So if you happen to be right outside of one of those triangles, or the line within that corridor, for example, or if you're off of Beatty's Ford, but you're on one of the side streets that you don't see captured there, just acknowledge that you're close to and identifying your street. I'm close to the Beatty's Ford Road corridor, or whichever one it is. So don't feel like you have to sit right in that graded area, but within that particular corridor, close to it.
I think another way I interpreted the question, or might be a good thing to address as well, is it the location of the business itself has to be within the corridor, or how does it work if that's an area the business serves but may not necessarily be there?
Thank you for that, Ish. So it's both, Ronald. It's if you're actually physically there, as well as if you have significant business activity, if you're serving those corridors. So whether you're located there close to, or you're doing a lot of activity within it, it would be, again, based on the rule that I just shared. It doesn't have to be, if you find that zip code matches perfectly, that's great, but it's looking at the actual street that's located within those corridors or close to it. So if you are not there, but you're serving that area, just make that clear in your application.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I do not, Francis. That's a great question. We have not compiled a list of grant writers, but I tell you, one of the things that this is a live grant program, and we're looking to, make it as helpful and beneficial as it is for applicants. So this is not something that has come up to my awareness, but I'll make a note here for something to consider. As a resource, if you're interested, one of the things that I find helpful is to search City of Charlotte's vendor database. That is like the most comprehensive list that I know to be able to filter and identify vendors being business owners based on their service offering. Of course, that's limited only to businesses who do register with the City of Charlotte, but that listing is there. So if that's something you're interested in, I wonder if the City of Charlotte happens to have that as a filter item in their vendors under doing business with the city.
Our next question is from Dominique, asking if we can share our information.
Yeah, so I mean, I know, you mean like us, me? So we have, just for control purposes, it's been a lot. I'm typing in the email that comes to our team, which we're monitoring on a daily basis, and that's info@beyondopenclt.com. And the point of this email is, if you have any general questions that you'd like to ask us about the program, we're happy to answer that. If you're looking for more one-on-one and more like direct technical support, we would encourage you to reach out to one of those community support organizations that I mentioned, and I'll go back to those, which are Aspire, Community Capital, Prospera, and the Women's Business Center of Charlotte. And those individuals, those organizations' contact information, their phone number, their email address, boom, it's just share that in the chat. They're available on the website under support.
Azania, I'm just going to go through some other ones that were asked here in the chat that I've answered earlier. One of them was asking if business has business loans, can you still apply for a grant?
Jake is here. Sorry, I just realized I forgot something. If the business has business loans, I'm sorry, is that a question or somebody was just off mute? The question is, you said if a business
Has
Can you
loans,
repeat
are
that?
they, if a business has loans, if my business has loans, can I still apply for a grant?
So the grant, yes, yes, but I would just clarify that you would not be looking to apply for a grant to pay that loan. So as mentioned earlier in the presentation, grants are not eligible for debt repayment. As that's what I'll say, they're not eligible for debt repayment. If you happen to have loans for some other item that was purchased, that's okay. But the grant funding is designed to support your grant, your application request. And I'm sorry, I was thinking something because actually, when you get into the make bold moves category, for example, I hadn't thought about this for a while, but like, do we talk about IRS standing or anything along those lines? Is that a part of like an obstacle for some of the larger grants?
So I know, are you referring to if there's any tax liens involved in the
Correct.
business? So
Correct.
there is a portion of the application in which that would not disqualify a business. Tax lien would not disqualify a business from being able to apply. Although there is a section in the application which does ask for clarification if there happens to be one.
Great. And you know, guys, so for time here, I see there's one more question in the chat, and I'm going to look at that. That's a direct message to me. This is our first time doing an interactive webinar. And in that, I missed something really special that I want to be sure we capture here. So as I mentioned, myself and Ishmael are part of the Beyond Open program team. We also have a special guest, which is Jay Ward, who is joining us tonight. He's Charlotte's first poet laureate. Like the city of Charlotte has identified their own poet laureate, and that's Jay Ward. And he has been working on a living poem for this program that he's been writing from the top of this program throughout our outreach. And I would love to turn this mic, if you will, over to Jay for this portion to close out our meeting here, and I will address the chat that I see in the box.
Azania, thank you so much. Ish, thank you as well. I'm really excited to be here, and the poem, as Azania said, is a living poem. In some way, I wanted to kind of honor this process because of how exciting it is for our small businesses here and what it's going to mean for our Charlotte community. So the idea behind the living poem is I started a poem at the beginning of the process, and after attending each live session, the poem changes just a little bit as I try to incorporate some of the feeling and energy and people that are in the room. So I've changed it a little bit by a little bit after each session. It's actually a lot different now than it was from its first iteration. So I'm going to share this with you now, as I know you're probably forming another question for Azania or Ish after I'm completed. Beyond dollars and cents, beyond statistics, beyond investing in the lifeblood of this city, beyond the idea of equity and the execution of it, beyond the systemic fear of what form corporate money can take in a historically underserved community, beyond the scars left from 2 pandemic years where uncertainty loomed over our families and manifested in the ways that we did or did not spend, did or did not invest, beyond the improbability of obtaining capital assets without also obtaining debt, beyond the get back on our feet attitude and hustle mentality it took to regain what we have today, beyond late nights, beyond tenacity, beyond the heroes who don't always feel like heroes. There's you, the lifeblood of this city, who account for over 50% of the local workforce, who make it possible to keep money circulating in the communities you serve and thereby exemplify what it means to give back. You, who know sustainability is the ultimate service to our neighbors. You, the writer, you, the mechanic, the counseling practice, the realtor, the soul food truck, the photographer, the mobile bookstore, the boutique, the restaurant, the nonprofit, you, the family owned and operated, you, the small biz with big heart who's about to blow up. All you need is one spark, you, the hero of this story. To all of you, I offer this living poem, A catalog of the angst, the concerns, the triumphs, the side comments, the victories, the momentum. Look, we know what displacement is, right? We know about historic West End. We know historic Brooklyn. We know East Charlotte. We know NODA. We know changes to the landscape of our communities affects the livelihood of our businesses and vice versa. We also know what support looks like. A tightly packed house on Betty's Ford, a standing room only bakery off Central, meaningful conversation in a tea oasis near Freedom, a Camp North End screen printer / cultural incubator, even a virtual session with about 18 folks. I think it's now 17. We know that support is woven by the hands of intention. We know support says, let's build wealth in a way that benefits all of us. We know support says, don't select yourself out, select yourself in. Support says, you can do this and we will help. I offer you proof that you haven't been forgotten. This grant is meant to help you build for success or grow for prosperity or to make bold moves. It's meant to help diverse business owners create wealth. Beyond the impact of the grant, think about how generational wealth is a seed that can bloom in places it never has before. Even if you've never successfully applied for a grant, even if you're a startup, even if you're an established enterprise of many years, apply. Change our city. Apply. Deepen community connections. Apply. See it all happen with you at the forefront. Round 1, round 2, round 3. Select yourself in, because this is beyond rebuilding, rebranding, and revival. Beyond longevity, resilience, and innovation. Beyond comeback stories and equitable access. Beyond open. There is you, all of you, to take Charlotte beyond. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love how the piece continues to evolve as time goes on. So you guys will forever be a piece of this as the 18 or 17 participants on a virtual call. We're looking to publish the final piece, or publish or record and put out the final piece on our social media channels. So if you follow those, you will see. And I did see, just out of respect for time, it's about 7 o'clock here. I did see one more question come in around reference letters. Are paid invoices accepted as a proof for having an established business? And Ish, I wonder if you may have more familiarity with that one than me. So is a paid invoice, for example. So I think that's like, as a proof of a proof of the location for the business, acceptable in place of a reference letter.
If I'll move down, or John would here, I would refer to them for this one. I'm actually going to go into the what will I need page on the website and see if it has anything to that effect. Paid invoices, I believe, based on what it says on the website, the recommendation is that it comes from an individual that can speak to the strength, vitality, and direction of the business, and I believe that's what they would be looking for in the application. I'm going to add the link to that specific page that has that language on what is asked for in a reference letter as well. I've just posted it in the. Whoops! I posted it directly. Somebody, let me go ahead and add it here. But if there's any additional clarification, we have some of those. Some of the people on our team that can best answer that through the info@beyondopenclt.com address as well. But my answer would be that it would need to come from an individual who can speak to the business. And there's a list of suggested things on that link too.
Great. Thank you. And I saw another question come in, and just again, if you want to stay on, please stay on. If you do need to jump off, you have other things to do, feel welcome to do so, but I don't want to leave if there are any outstanding questions. So I am going to hang out a little bit longer. I did just see a question that I responded to in the chat from Darian that asked, what if your business operates outside of Charlotte, but serves, like you're based in Charlotte, but you provide services outside of Charlotte? You are eligible. So again, the criteria is that you're based here in Charlotte-Mecklenburg. There's that additional priority given if you happen to be located in or providing significant business activity in one of the corridors of opportunity. But you yourself, as a resident of Charlotte-Mecklenburg who is a business owner, if you are growing through your wealth and growing your business, that adds to the economic vitality of all of Charlotte-Mecklenburg. So yes, you would still be eligible even if you're providing services outside of Charlotte-Mecklenburg. Yes, Eric, this will be recorded. The playback will be uploaded to the website under events. If you look for today's date, October 17th, you'll see a link there. And we've also been sharing them on YouTube for anyone who may find it out on YouTube, just to make it easier for sharing and viewing as well. Welcome. Any other questions? All right, so if not, as we mentioned, our email address for the general team was provided at info@beyondopenclt.com. If you're looking for technical support, we highly encourage you to reach out to our community partner organizations. They're waiting to hear from you. It might be easier just on this date to email them before calling. I imagine they're catching up with a lot of applicants right now, but they will get back with you. And yeah, that's what we have for tonight. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Good
you.
night.